Hi guys, welcome back to the Max Spence Business Podcast. Today I have a very special guest. His name's Cody Laughlin. He's actually a real estate investor. It's great having you on the show, Cody.
Hey, Max, pleasure to be here, man. It's always an honor to come on your show and appreciate the opportunity to share my story.
Awesome. So why don't we jump right into this? Why don't you tell the viewers, where you're from, a little intro about where you're from, where did you grow up, and sort of what got you interested in real estate, and then sort of what actually got you into real estate.
Yeah, man. Yeah. So I'm originally from Southwest Louisiana. I moved here to Houston back in 2008 to pursue a career in healthcare. Graduated from college in 2008, moved right over here after that. And at the time, me and my wife, we had just gotten married right out of school, and we bought our first house, and we lived in that house for about 2 years. And about 2010, we decided to move to a different part of Houston. And if anybody recalls, that was just right at the back end of the Great Recession. The housing market was just in the dirt. And ultimately, we ended up becoming accidental landlords. And so that's really what opened my exposure to real estate investing. I found myself managing this property, putting a tenant in there and having no idea what the heck I was doing. And coincidentally, right around that time, again, with the Great Recession, people were so impacted by this. People have been working 30, 40 years, nearing retirement age. I had just gotten into my career field, and I was watching these exact people, their retirements are just wiped out. So they're running around crazy, figuring out what in the world they're going to do to retire. And I was like, man, it doesn't make sense. Like there's got to be a way around this. Right. And so I started studying on how to invest with your retirement accounts, how to invest in the stock market. And somebody saw me doing that at work, and they were like, hey, have you read this book, Rich Dad, Poor Dad? And read that book, and it was perfect timing because, again, I've got this property, just got a tenant in it, and had no idea what I was doing. Read that, and it just completely changed my life. My original career path was to go up the corporate ladder. I was going to go back to school, get my master's. And, once I read that, everything changed for me. And, it just like a light bulb went off, and I was like, ooh, real estate, this is where, true financial independence is going to come from. So really started shifting the focus into learning about real estate investing. And so that's kind of how my investing career started. And I don't know how long of a story you want to go into, but
that's great. That's great. So yeah, what I find really awesome about that is like, usually with a lot of the real estate people that I have on, it's usually rich dad, poor dad that actually gets them started in the real estate career, which is, I don't really understand, but it's pretty crazy that this one book is just like, it just changes so many people's mindsets. And like, there was a guy I had on the show, I'm from Canada and he's from Toronto, and this guy who's like 25, he read that one book, and now he's been, pretty much, I think he's been in real estate for 22 months now, and he's done 22 properties. Well, 22 like single family homes and triplexes and small multifamily, which is absolutely crazy. But he was he just read that one book, and that changed his entire life forever, which I find absolutely phenomenal. So, you had your first, you became an accidental landlord. And then pretty much after that point, when you read that book, what were your next steps? Did you sort of start going to meetups, or how did that sort of unfold?
Yeah, absolutely. So, started reading more of Kiyosaki's teaching, more of his books, the cash flow quadrant, and, other books of his in his repertoire, and really just embraced that philosophy. And so part of that teaching was getting involved in building your network, right? Your community, and surrounding yourself with other like-minded investors. So I started joining local real estate investing clubs here in Houston, and started going to seminars and events and such. And that was where I got introduced to multifamily through some seminars in this investing club. And again, it was another light bulb. It was like, oh, this just makes sense. The ability to scale much faster. I don't know, something spoke to me. So I started, getting more involved in that. I actually enrolled in a training program, a mentorship program around that time. And the unfortunate thing in my journey is I was being so young and excited about this new entrepreneurship journey. I was very I was not very focused at all. And I started just chasing any and every shiny object. I mean, if you threw it in front of me and it sounded great, hey, we're going to go for it and we're going to try it out. So I've tried a bunch of different things. And throughout that process, what ended up happening is every intent was to further my real estate investing. But in those, in me taking on those opportunities, it took me a little bit further away from real estate. And, after several years of just kind of spinning my wheels, if you will, and trying different opportunities and not having very much success, me and my wife, love her to death. She sat me down and she's like, look, it's time for you to get focused. It's time for you to really, do what you're passionate about, stick to one thing and just put all of your effort into that. And so that's what we did, got recommitted back to real estate and started building a business in the pursuit of getting to multifamily. And so most of my experience has been in the single family space, but the goal was always to transition to multifamily, but I had this limiting mindset, right? I didn't have the capital. I didn't have the resources. I didn't have the network. And so I'm a father of three, and I have my son, he's the oldest, and he was in his his last year of Little League baseball. And we had talked about coaching the team and being involved in that. And because I was still a W-2 employee and my work schedule, it wouldn't allow me to be that hands-on coach that I wanted to be. And it was just such a gut punch for me. And it was that moment where I was like, you know what, no more excuses, no more, no more limiting mindset. It's time to transition in this and start getting into multifamily and really building this business and breaking down my own barriers. And so we did that, man. We made that transition in early of 2019 and really kind of been building the business since and putting the things in place to make that happen.
Oh, okay, awesome. Yeah, that is pretty incredible. So, okay, so awesome. So you got into small, single family. Did you ever venture into like some of the different, like let's say 2 to 4 units, or were you just do you decide that you wanted to go for like what's your sort of ideal target right now? Is it sort of like 100 units plus, or is it sort of anything that's over like 50 units, 30 units, or something?
Yeah. So once we made the decision to really commit to multifamily, the goal was like, how can we scale and scale quickly? And so in order to scale quickly, for us, it was trying to go bigger, faster. And again, still being a W-2 employee, not having the ability to be full-time in a real estate investing like I wanted to be, I needed something that would be suitable for third-party property management and a team around us that can help us manage these assets. So our target is, generally 75 to 200 units. Again, something that we can put in those systems and teams to help us manage it, and we can just be the managers of the managers, if you will.
Yeah.
We don't want to be the ones answering the
Yeah.
phone calls and knocking on doors collecting rent.
Yeah,
That's just not my strategy. So
yeah, that's a full-time job. I had a guy on my show. He's actually from Texas. He's from Austin, Texas as well, or Dallas. He might be in Dallas. His name's David Tupin. I don't know if you heard of him.
Great guy, man. Great
Yeah.
guy. Young, great stud, man. Such a awesome young man to be around, and just very impressive what he's done in such a young age. So, yeah.
Yeah. So do you just know him from like online, or have you like met him in one of the meetups and stuff?
Yeah, no, I haven't had the fortunate pleasure of meeting him in person, but we connected via social media, started following him, and I think the thing that really kind of put his name on the map was his underwriting template that he started putting out there, and really just kind of started following him. And then we had the pleasure of interviewing him on our podcast a couple of months ago, and man, just great young guy, and just love what he's doing, just full of energy, and man, he's a powerhouse for sure.
Yeah. I actually, that's funny. We might actually had him on this podcast like at sort of the same time, because I actually had him on my podcast a few months ago as well. And this guy, like the guy is absolutely phenomenal. Like you said, at such a young age, doing so much. So what we're actually so I sort of want to jump back now to sort of you're saying that you have you had some limiting beliefs, and I sort of want to target that a bit to say, how did you actually overcome that? How did you overcome that to sort of say, you know what, I'm going to focus in on, I'm not going to chase down, single family, multifamily, wholesaling, flips, or anything like that. I'm just going to put all guns pretty much towards getting that multifamily deal, multifamily property under contract.
Yeah. So I had done a few single family transactions and very quickly realized that this is going to be so much harder to scale to a large extent to where to get to my goal, which was getting that financial independence. And that was a big driver in helping me to identify, you know, I'm going to need some help or I'm going to need to change my strategy if I want to really scale this quickly. The second thing is really, and this sounds very cliche, but it's so important, is really identifying the why it is that you're doing what you're doing. And my whole reason for reaching the financial independence was not just for money, but it was really for my ability to give my time back to my family. Again, I'm a husband, I'm a father of 3 children. And, I look at my oldest son who's 15, about to be 16 now, and I can just look back and all the times that I missed, different events that I missed because of work. And that really resonated with me. And that was really the root of what it is that I was trying to do. So once I identified that why, then it kind of helped me develop my strategy. And once I developed the strategy, again, multifamily, in particular, larger multifamily properties, then I had to sit down and say, okay, what are your strengths? What are your weaknesses? And what are the areas that are the resources you need to make this happen? And once I wrote that down and really identified what it is that I can leverage on my own, and then what are the other areas that I need to either work on or improve on, or build a network around me that can help me do that and fill in those gaps. That's what really kind of helped change, that mindset and get out of that is, again, I was driven, I had a why, I knew I wanted to get there quick, and I knew I needed help. So then again, it just became building the network and surrounding people around us. And the more that you do that, the more that you get engaged. And going back to David's example, David is 25 years old, young man. He's $50 million of assets under management. You hear that and you see those people being successful at all stages of life. It really is encouraging. It really helps you to understand that, listen, these are everyday people out there doing it, making these goals and hitting these goals and doing what it is that you want to do. It's just a matter of just getting out of your own way. And so I think surrounding myself with those people as well was a big factor in that.
Okay, yeah, yeah, I agree with that as well. So yeah, so surrounding yourself with the right people that are educating you and mentoring you, and you'd probably say how to find these people would maybe be through like meetups, social media, LinkedIn, um, somewhere along those lines.
Yeah. Oh, absolutely. Yeah. So you have to be submersed in the network and building your network. And so prior to COVID, we were going to every and any network event that we could. We started our own meetup event last year, still ongoing, and just trying to meet as many people as we could in every different avenue. Now of course with COVID, everything's virtual. So doing a lot more social media connections and things like that. But yeah, any and every event that you can attend, you should be attending, just constantly trying to build that network and that database.
Okay, awesome, awesome. Yeah, I agree with that. So let's actually talk to actually. So you've been targeting multifamily now. So what's your sort of strategy right now? Are you sort of looking for deals that you're gonna be you're gonna put an offer in, and then you're gonna bring that offer to maybe partner with a more experienced investor, or are you gonna put an offer in that property, manage the whole thing by yourself, and raise the capital by yourself?
Yeah, no, man, this is a team sport, man. I definitely believe in teams. And again, I'm only one person. I only have so much time. I have my own strengths, but I also have my own weaknesses as well. So, to be able to have a team around you that can help complement those areas is so important. So I have 2 other business partners in our company, and our business model is built around syndication or joint ventures. So partnering with other investors to get these deals done. And which you need to. I mean, these, when you're looking at 75 to 200 units, just depending on which markets you're in, you're looking at $5 million, $15 to $50 million deals. And so that's a lot of capital requirement that, I just don't have sitting in the bank, so neither do my partners. So you need help, you need partners around you to do that. So.
Okay, awesome, awesome. And then for the underwriting right now, how are you? Is that somebody else? One of your business partners that's really good with numbers that's doing that. And what sort of are you guys using David Tupin sort of analyzer to do that, or what? Or how are you sort of doing that?
Yeah, no. So we're not using David Tupin's analyzer, and not for any particular reason. His analyzer is phenomenal. We just so happened to stumble across a particular analyzer that we had just been using for a while, got very comfortable with, and just, really relied on that. So that's the Michael Blanc analyzer for anybody that's out there listening. Just really very, very comfortable with that platform. But as far as the underwriting goes, uh, um, I'm sorry, repeat your original question. I want to make
Yeah,
sure I
yeah,
answered it.
yeah. No problem. It was just the question was about so the underwriting. Who is doing the underwriting?
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, so in our team, again, we have three partners, including myself. We each have our own different roles and responsibilities. But when it comes to the underwriting, like one of my main roles is the deal acquisition. So I'm out there trying to find deals, build a relationship with brokers, and as deals come in, we kind of do like what we call a first level or first pass underwriting. And if it's a deal that looks like it has potential that we want to maybe pursue, I'll work on getting property tours scheduled. We get it, we do that. And then we come back and then we sharpen the pencil. And then collectively, as a group between me and my other partners, we kind of all look at the underwriting together, sharpen the pencil, if you will, and make sure that we're all on the same page and agreement with our assumptions. And then if we're ready to submit a LOI, we submit the LOI. So
Oh, okay,
but it's
awesome,
it's a
awesome.
it's a collaborative effort. I mean, look,
Yeah.
we're all people, and as much as I'm comfortable with crunching numbers or whatnot, there could be mistakes made, and it's important that people understand is the last thing you want to do is make a wrong assumption or a wrong mistake in those numbers and get yourself into a bad deal. And so it's always good to have other people checking your work. So we kind of like to take that collective approach on that.
Yeah, yeah, I agree with that as well. That's very true. I had a mortgage broker on here. Well, he owns his own mortgage brokerage and he also invests as well. And usually, what he'll do is he'll sort of beat the crap out of his numbers and then pass that to somebody else on his team and they beat the crap out of his numbers and then he passes it to a third person who's like really for this is so like this is for some of like the big deals that he's like maybe a little bit newer into. Like the more experienced ones, he sort of knows how they roll and how they operate and stuff. But like when they, I believe when they start expanding and stuff, he'll pass it to somebody that's who doesn't actually like real estate. They're really good with numbers, but they don't like it's not that they don't like real estate. It's just they have a very I think it would be pessimistic outlook on sort of real estate anyway, and pretty much then they'll go over the numbers and then they'll be like, well, there's a problem here. Like he goes very, very conservatively, and I think that's the same with David as well. As he's very conservative, because I was watching one of his podcasts, and because I was watching one of his podcasts. Well, this is from two different ones, but one of his podcasts, he had some like crazy returns on some of the investment properties that he's done, and I'm just like, this is insane. How is he finding these deals? And then I figure out that he's like, this guy's like, I think he's like, I think he looks at like 2,000. I think it might be something like he has like 2,000 deals in the pipeline or something that he knows about. And then it goes down to like 500 that he'll analyze. And then it'll be like 200 that he'll actually put offers in or something. And then he actually got 3 deals, which is like, but he was saying that like that's how he gets the returns he does is being very, very conservative. And he's in a position that he was saying that there's no rush to pick up. He says don't do a deal for the sake of doing a deal, which you could probably agree with. There's like you're going to do all that effort for a deal that's going to backfire and just cause you more money and more headaches and all that sort of stuff. So yeah.
100%. And look, let me tell you, man, I'll just tell you my experience in single family. I've made some of those mistakes. I've been a little too aggressive and eager and getting into properties and learning some very expensive lessons along the way. And in hindsight, they've been great lessons because I've been able to learn from them. But at the same time, I mean, it sucks when you're taking those bumps and bruises along the way. So, I think if anybody listening, if they're having any consideration into real estate investing, and in particular, if you're looking at the multifamily space, you got to learn it's a patience game. You have to be very patient and know that it's for the long term. And you hear about the FOMO, the fear of missing out, just as you mentioned. It's just you got to come in this and know that it's not going to happen overnight. Take your time, and like I said, I've been at my journey for over a year now in the multifamily space, trying to get acquisitions done, and it just takes time. So, but I would rather take the time and get into the right deal than rush into and get in the bad deal and be out of the game, from a bad deal. So
Yeah, that is very true. So I want to sort of talk now to like the educational part of what do you so like what have you done and what are you doing to sort of educate yourself on this? Like, are you reading real estate books, or you more surround yourself with people that are well educated? Just take me through what are you sort of doing right now, and the viewers that some good advice to be like, hey, you should look at this or look at that when you're first getting into real estate.
Yeah, so there's multiple different avenues of education that we look at. So it started out for me was books. I was a little bit of a reader when I first started, and that's how I prefer to study. But unfortunately, uh, time has become an issue for me. So then it was like, okay, well, how do I still get that education? So going to networking events and seminars is a great way to get great education in addition to networking. Podcasts, I would definitely say, has been one of the biggest ways that my education has expanded. It's easy to jump in the car, and anybody that's familiar with Houston, anywhere you go is a 30-minute, 45-minute drive. So I've turned my vehicle into a mobile university, if you will. Listening to any and every podcast from industry leaders, and I've learned so much in that way. And then starting our own podcast as well has been just absolutely huge. And I encourage anybody out there that's thinking about creating a thought leadership platform. Podcasting is such a great way to do that, because you get to, not only do you get to network and meet with these industry leaders and other people in the space, you get to spend time with those people and really pick their brain, and you can provide education and help others do the same as well. And so I found that to be the best ways that for myself, excuse me, in expanding my education.
Yeah, I actually agree with that as well, with the podcasting and the other one. I really like the mobile university. I, I love that. So yeah, so with the podcast, actually, I agree with you with that as well. Is like I've talked to, I know for my podcast, I just started very like recently, and it's only been going for I'll probably say a couple months now, and just to be people that I've been able to get on the podcast, that was crazy, because beforehand I used to be actually as a real estate agent. And I know that when I was trying to get meetings with people, it was very, very difficult to get these meetings. Maybe a coffee meeting, even like a 15-minute meeting was like incredibly difficult to get. But then once I started the podcast and was like, hey, do you want to come on my podcast for 30 to 40 minutes? I'd love to, hear your story and you explain a little bit about, what you do, and I can sort of pick your brain and stuff. People had no problem with that, and they would be on for, longer than an hour. And it's just like, I mean, I'm just so surprised that, previously trying to get a 15-minute meeting, now I can get like, now it's like you're able to get like an hour meeting with somebody that you really wanted to talk to and just ask all the questions that you really wanted to ask them in that 15-minute meeting over an hour.
Yeah, 100%, man. I mean, there's so many people that we've talked to that would have never picked up the phone to give me an hour of their day beforehand, and now you put them on a platform that would be a way for them to add value and provide education, but also be a promotion for them. Oh yeah, they're going to be all about it. So it's, yeah, you're absolutely right. We met so many great people, and it's just been a remarkable experience. So again, I highly encourage anybody to do it.
Awesome. So actually, I want to talk a little bit more about the podcast. So what have you been, how do you sort of connect with these people to get them on the podcast? Have you doing a lot of LinkedIn, LinkedIn messaging? Is it from your meetups, or is it just from your network that you've built over time?
Yeah, so most of our connections have been through social media platforms, Facebook, LinkedIn. On occasion, we'll meet some people in the meetups, and based on their experience or our conversation, we may invite them on the show. But most of our connections have been through social media. And coincidentally, at the launch of my podcast back in April of this year, we were in the COVID pandemic. Everybody was forced to be at home anyway, so we weren't doing a lot of face-to-face interaction. So most of our, connections and conversations were occurring via social media connections. So, I mean, everybody, if you're not on social media right now in today's time, this sounds pretty grim, but you're just non-existent. I mean, you have to be on social media. And look, a year ago, I couldn't even tell you how to do a Facebook post. My wife would have to do maybe one post a year for me, just whatever. But, now it's like every day I'm trying to get on there and have interaction and engage with people, because everybody's on those platforms now. So you need a social media presence, but that's how we've attracted a lot of our guests through that medium. So
Y-
and just putting out a simple flyer, hey, looking for guests on my show. Here's what it's about. If you're interested, reach out to us. You'd be surprised at the people out there that are looking at that stuff. So.
Yeah, I agree with that. Yeah, it's like you said, if you're not in social media, you're pretty much non-existent, and that's I believe that to be very true. Like if you're wanting to be an entrepreneur, unless you're surrounding yourself with or like a business owner, unless you're surrounding yourself with a team, and one of the persons on your team is actually doing all the marketing and all that sort of stuff, then yeah, it doesn't really matter because that person's already handling that. But if you're a solo operation, one really great quote I heard was from Gary Vee, and he said you're a media company before you're a business, before your actual business. And I believe that's very true with like what you've seen today with like TikTok and this new generation of young wealth that's being created just from this app. That previously it was like when Instagram came out and YouTube, all those people, all the YouTubers and Instagram stars that got loads of money and made lots of money from those apps, or now you're seeing people on TikTok make do what they're doing but do it in like a couple months, which is absolutely insane. Like you're seeing some of these 16, 18, 20-year-olds going to making millions just from being aware on social media and having attention of other people that brands will pay them and stuff. And also with yeah, do you watch any Grant Cardone at all?
Yeah, I love Grant Cardone. I know he's he's loved and hated all the same, but I just love his audacity and his I love his presence really.
Yeah. Yeah, that is true. Yeah, I like his energy in his videos. But he's been able to raise quite a bit of money for his syndication just from his YouTube and social media, which is crazy, right? It's just
Hmm.
like he's able to raise millions just from being active on social media, which doesn't really take that much to actually do if you think about it.
Yeah, you're right. And I'm going to say this incorrectly, so if I do, forgive me. But Grant, I think he has a statement somewhere along the lines of, quit trying to be the best, but be the best known. So, and I think that's obviously his approach. He's everywhere in social media, and I think that's a good philosophy. I mean, the whole name of this game is to be able to have your name recognized and have that credibility, and so it's a great way to leverage that.
Yeah, I actually agree with you with that as well. Is that's actually funny that you brought that up, because that's the majority of like you see like with the TikTok videos, and I'm really fascinated with TikTok, and I've started posting some of my tiny clips on TikTok and stuff. Um, and you're seeing these people, and a lot of people do dances on TikTok, but the people that are doing the dances aren't competitive by any means, competitive or best world national dancers. But they're just doing this, they're doing a dance, but it just attracts so many views, that they become one of the best known. Like you said, they're not the
Mhm.
best at they're not the best at dancing, but they just become the best known for creating these funny little dances.
Sure,
Yeah.
absolutely.
So talking about actually social media, what are you guys doing right now to expand your presence, and how are you so let's say for your podcast, what have you sort of seen that's been really beneficial for your podcast and actually growing it? Has it been turning into clips, written form, or what have you been doing down that sort of road?
Yeah. So as far as what we've done is we use little video snippets to post on social media, and that kind of highlight some important topics out of there. But I think the general theme that has helped us grow uh, is giving value, giving good content that people can relate to, and that feel like they need to hear or listen to, right? And I think in any approach, that's our objective: is how do we add value? How do we give back in a way that will help somebody in some way? And so in our podcast, it's dedicated to multifamily investing, and we try to dissect that and pick topics that really resonate with a variety of different investors, or where they're at in their journey. Whether it be how to raise capital, how to manage a construction budget, structuring a deal, understanding the complexity of the deal, things like that. We try not to keep it too generic. We try to be very specific into the nuts and bolts, and pick it apart, so that way people can pick up nuggets and whatnot. So, but I think if you go in it with the approach of again, how do you add value and education? That's what's going to help attract a bigger audience. And so that's our goal.
Okay, awesome. Yeah, yeah, I like that as well. Is that you're going very specific on certain pieces of key information that's actually that has a lot of value because they're sort of harder to find online. These sort of key little tidbits of information that you're putting out, which I really like. So let's actually jump to so you've passively invested in some deals. So speaking from that sort of point of view, let's say there's somebody that doesn't want to get into real estate maybe, but wants to passively, they maybe invest in the stock market or something like that, and they sort of want to, and they didn't really know about this whole world of passive investing into actual real estate deals. What would you, so actually, how did you actually find good deals that you wanted to invest in passively? So, that might be somebody's point of view is like, hey, I want to sort of invest in to real estate, but I don't know how to find a good deal and I don't know how to analyze it to make sure that I'm putting my money into something that's actually, is going to turn me a profit.
Yeah. Even as a passive investor, I mean, there is still some education and a learning curve that you do have to get over, right? I mean, you don't want to just give, 50 or $100,000 of your hard-earned money away and just hope that it works out. You really want to try to have at least a foundational education on the world of real estate and how some of these deals work. But ultimately, especially in these deals where we're partnering with others to do these deals, and from a passive side, you're really investing in the people that are getting the deal just done, right? The people that are actually going out there and finding the deals and structuring the deals. Ultimately it comes down to your trust in those people, in those investors. And so that comes through building a relationship and whether through networking events or whatever, but just connecting with these operators, syndicators. There's a variety of different terms, but they're all the same. But just building that relationship with them, understanding what their track record is, understanding what the team that they have in place is, what are the deals that they're looking for, and how are they getting the returns that they're projecting. And so you want to ask a lot of those really pointed questions and really get an understanding of who it is that you're investing with, because ultimately that's what's going to lead you to have success or not, right? I mean, you can have a great operator that can make a bad deal great, or you can have a really bad operator that can make a really good deal terrible. So it ultimately comes down to trusting who it is that you're investing your money with.
Okay,
So
awesome. Yeah. Yeah. Sorry, were you gonna?
uh, yeah, I was just going to mention. So, like, in my investing, I started passive investing as I was getting more educated in my journey to become an active investor, and again, found a gentleman that I connected with through a networking event, and somebody that had a pretty impressive track record. He had done over 1,000 units on the active side, and for me, that was also a great way to learn firsthand from him, having the success he has. I'm partnered in him with his deal and from a passive side, but I'm seeing how he's operating the business. What is he doing to improve the operations of the business? What team members does he have in place? How does he execute the business plan? And that's such a powerful way to learn firsthand as well, if you are considering trying to get into the active side. But again, his track record really spoke to me. He was in a market that I really was eyeing. That was a phenomenal market, and the deals that he was searching for was the deals that I was looking for as well. So it's a perfect fit. So you want to definitely find people who have that alignment of interest that fit your investing appetite, if you will.
Oh, okay, awesome, awesome. So yeah, so pretty much what you say is make sure that like the people are more important than the deal. Finding the right people to manage that deal are really important. And also coming with sort of, like you said, a base level of knowledge is really important as well. You need to understand sort of, how multifamily actually runs and how to, when you invested in these deals, did you actually analyze the deal yourself, or did you go off what they analyzed for you? Because I know that some investors will, they want to, analyze the deal themselves to sort of, and then to see if they, it meets what they're looking for. And then other people are like, they invest in the person. If they trust the person, they know the person, and this is what the returns the person's stating, then they're going to invest with that group.
Yeah, for me personally, I didn't sit down and crunch the numbers myself. what I looked at was more, again, what was his track record? What was more specifically, what was the deal like? You know, how many units was it? How old was it? Where's it located? Looking at the assumptions that he had created in his business plan and kind of eyeing anything that just seemed out of the ordinary. For example, if you're in a market that has a 3% rent growth and you were projecting a 10% rent growth, hey, that's a red flag. So things like that. And that goes down to your education, right? Just understanding those foundational principles. But, you know, with him and his success and the track record that he had before, I didn't feel like I would needed to be in a position where I needed to crunch those numbers myself. More so just understanding the deal that he was acquiring, and then understanding what the business plan is. And I was comfortable in making that investment with him based on those factors. So, but I would encourage anybody. I mean, look, you have some people that they need to do that. They need to sit down and they need to crunch every number and whatnot. And I'm not saying don't do that. Just find what it is that you're comfortable with. And to go back to your point a second ago, is in any business venture, whether it be real estate, other businesses, doesn't matter. Ultimately, people are going to invest with who they trust. Investing is, in a way, an emotional business, in that, if you don't know me and you don't trust me, you're not going to give me your money. You're not going to invest with me, no matter how good the deal is, right? So it's a relationship-driven business. And so people they're going to invest with who they trust with. So it just really boils down to that deep-rooted relationship.
Yeah, that is very true. So I know we're coming to the end here. Thank you for coming on the show. Two pieces. Is there any other advice that you'd give to somebody that's maybe that hears this podcast and they're wanting to start into multifamily? And what the second one is, where can people actually find out more about yourself and your company? Your podcast, YouTube, LinkedIn, all that sort of good stuff.
Yeah, man, I appreciate that. So any advice that I would give really boils down to build your relationships, build your network, always seek to learn and get educated, and never give up. I mean, look, it's a hard business. We talked about this before the show. There's a lot of barriers to entry, and particularly in the commercial real estate space, and you're going to be faced with a lot of challenges that you have to have a strong will to overcome. So, just be prepared for that, and just remember, this is a long-term game. So just, not giving up and staying persistent, and doing those other things, building your network and education, I think is going to be the keys to success. So, but as far as you can get connected with me, I mean, you can check me out at www.blueoakinvest.com. That's our company website. Definitely check me out on LinkedIn at Cody Laughlin. And Facebook, and I try to direct everybody on Facebook to our meetup page, the South Texas Multifamily and More Facebook group. So check us out there as well. You can follow us on Instagram at Blue Oak Capital. And man, if you want to connect with me directly, check me out, 337-794-8283. That's my phone number. And then we do have a podcast as well, the Prosperity Through Multifamily Real Estate Investing podcast. We're streaming on Google Podcasts, Apple Podcasts, and Spotify. So definitely check us out there. Make sure to subscribe to the show. And yeah.
Awesome. Well, thank you for coming on the show, Cody.
Hey, Max, appreciate you having me, man. Great. Love the conversation.
Awesome.